Don't forget that the Ultimate 216 show is brought to you today by our partners at Game Time. Listen, if you're trying to get to a Guardians game after they come back from the All-Star break, so if you're trying to get to a Browns game, single ticket only, and you're waiting last minute, don't trip. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, theaters, etc. All you have to do is download the Game Time app today. Enter promo code Locked On NFL for 20% off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKON NFL. Again, Game Time, where you can get your tickets next. So, fellas, today, before we jumped on here, CBS, let me get his name. Get my man's name right. I don't like messing up people's names. I think his name was Corey. What's his name? Give me 1 second here. Cody Benjamin from CBS unveiled the 2024 NFL head coach ranks from 32 to number 1. And this is what he did. He broke them up into 3 categories. Class number C is the unproving or underwhelming. Class B was give me 1 second as I get to it. Class B was the accomplished with questions. And then Class A was, make sure I got this name right. Class A was the best in the game. Our head coach, Kevin Stefanski, fell under Class A. He was ranked number 10 ahead of Mike McDaniel, Kevin O'Connell, and D'Amico Ryans. What's your thoughts on Kevin Stefanski being ranked as a top 10 head coach by
who do they got ahead of him?
They got Sean McDermott ahead of him. They have Dan Campbell ahead of him. Jim Harbaugh, which I don't agree with. Mike Tomlin, Matt LaFleur, John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and of course Andy Reid.
It's a good listen to. You see Jim on there, like that's the only one. Where I'm like, oh man, Jim, like we really doing a lot off that. We did not think he was good until like 2 years ago at Michigan.
Right, that's it.
Like,
yeah. Bro, he ain't coaching the NFL in like what 4 or 5 years, right?
I'm just going to point out it took Ohio State having a fall off after losing Urban Meyer for Michigan to start actually living up to the expectations that they have had since they hired him in 2018. Now, is that a reflection on the job that Jim Harbaugh's been doing? Maybe did it amplify how Jim Harbaugh looked that he won a national championship in a year where all of college football's powerhouses were having a down year, where Georgia did not make the playoff game because of one loss that they had, and LSU was down. Well, who else was down? Alabama was not for Alabama
4 times.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm hating. Like maybe it's just the old Ohio State fan in me coming out and hating. But Jim Harbaugh, I feel like he's getting a lot of credit for being a great coach. Like we put him up there, like they hired Saban.
They hired Vince Lombardi. Listen, like he's the second coming. Like this is why. Listen, they have like, I don't know whether he's gonna just line up and run the ball 9,700 times. I mean, it's wild to me that they got the Chargers rated so highly, and it's just like the coach didn't take no snaps. Like I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, and it's like he got Greg Roman back, right? That's he rolling that back out with Greg Roman. Didn't we just say that the reason the Ravens couldn't get over the hump was because of that? Like, wasn't that just a stat when we think it's just going to be a different offense because it's Justin Herbert? And then Justin Herbert going to be in an offense where they going to run the ball 35 times?
No receivers. They lost all the receivers.
It's funny. It's funny because they always talking about players not living up to their contract. Like Justin Herbert been out here balling, but that's another story for another day. I think we all can agree that
we were saying that Greg Roman was the handcuffs on Lamar Jackson. He loses Greg Roman and wins another MVP.
Yeah.
And we like, yeah, but wait till we see what Jim cooks up with Greg Roman. Like Greg Roman ain't had a quarterback have 2 good years under him ever.
Look, we ain't got much time. I know Quincy got some other things to do. This is my thoughts on this. I would have moved. Stefanski is 10. I wouldn't have had Jim Harbaugh in this top 10 whatsoever. So because of that, I'm moving everybody up one. This is how I feel about Kevin Stefanski, and most of the fans that's watching the shows, they know this. to me, his best intangible is the fact that he's a leader of men. And I think the fact that him being a leader of men, it says a lot about how this team responds to him. It says a lot about how this culture has changed. It says a lot about the chemistry. Kevin Stefanski has already shown you that he can win football games multiple different ways with multiple different players playing quarterback. I think what we've seen him do since he's taken over as the Cleveland Browns head coach has been overly impressive. You take over a team in a COVID year where you can't even meet your new players and you're a first-time head coach, and somehow, some way, you lead them to the playoffs. You got the most out of Baker Mayfield when everybody knows he has limitations. We all know that everything that's went on with Deshaun Watson, but for you to get a quarterback in here like Jacoby Brissett and coach him up to have a career year, and then we know what we did last year, starting 5 different quarterbacks, winning games with all 5 of them. Kevin Stefanski has shown time and time again, as we like to say, that he's him. So it feels good to see him really getting his just due and his respect. And I think that he's only going to get better with time as a head coach.
I agree. Listen, they got him sneaking in the top 10. I mean, like I said, it's very rare that you get somebody who won Coach of the Year twice. So, shout out to him. I think if people like the quarterback a little more, I think you would have saw Kevin Stefanski hired in possibly at 5. Say, for instance, if you threw Justin Herbert, right? You said Kevin Stefanski has Justin Herbert on the Cleveland Browns. People got him. They'd have Stefanski top 3, top 4, like, because I think there's an indictment that is involved when it comes to ranking Kevin Stefanski by whether or not people feel like they like the roster or not. The Browns, have a top 5 roster by most people's standards that you listen to, top 5, some as high as top 3. But the thing that people always detract with, and they ended every sentence is, but it's just that it comes down to what Deshaun Watson is going to take center for the Browns. That's what it comes to.
Yeah, I think with Kevin, I think a top 10 ranking for him is absolutely fair. You want to see him make a similar leap with his offense that it had with the defense last year, switching over to Jim Schwartz. I think being able to work with different coordinators and change up your collaborative process tells you if that guy's going to be able to be somebody who's going to have long-term staying power. The thing with Stefanski that I think I want to see is just that second level success, right? Like, it is rare that somebody does win Coach of the Year twice. It's even rare that somebody wins Coach of the Year twice without winning the division, right? There's still some things, albeit he's very accomplished, he still has not done yet as a NFL coach. And now, with this new contract, with his second Coach of the Year, he's not going to be judged the same way he's been judged over the last 5 years, which I think it was fair for him to be judged that way, which is he was compared to other Browns coaches. And I think that helped him get some Coach of the Year, like those 2 Coach of the Year awards, because it's not just he won 11 games. You won 11 games with the Browns. And despite whatever the roster's looking, you know how the national media look at it. Wow, you won 11 games with the Browns. It's like winning 5 games at Rutgers. Like, they think you the man when you do that. So I think that has helped Kevin in his perception, at least nationally. Now we're going to start judging Kevin a little bit more harshly and more based on what other guys in the NFL are doing. And I think this is the time for that, because now the Browns are finally normal, right? Like, it took 4 or 5 years to get there, but we're finally normal. So now he's going to get judged on that. And now you're going to want to see the playoff success. You're going to want to see the conference championship game and the Super Bowl appearances and hopefully a Super Bowl championship in his resume, right? Like, that's where he has the opportunity to be judged. And this is exciting for Browns fans because we have not had a coach who has been anywhere close to being judged in that way since Bill Belichick didn't even get there while he was here in Cleveland. Like, we got to go all the way back to Marty Schottenheimer was the last guy where it mattered what his playoff record was. So yeah, I think that's where Kevin is. He's in that area now. We judge him on the other 10 coaches that are in there and not go, oh, well, he's better than, I don't know, he's better than the whoever's coaching the Giants, right? Or something like that.
You don't have to say the word, I hate these words, since 99. Since figured it out. I hate since 99.
We out the since 99 era. I think we've done everything that we talked about this team not doing since 99. Yeah, like I think we out there. We don't won the first game of the season. We don't won the first home game, the first road game of the season. We don't won a playoff game. Right. Like I think maybe the division, but the division's not a since 99 stat because the Central turned into the North. So that's not a since 99. I think we out the since 99 era. We can. So if you're a producer for the Browns game in that truck, brother, we don't need the doom scroll. Don't do it. We don't need to. We don't need
lazy.
Nobody watching the game needs to remember to drive.
And by the way,
we could.
And that's why I need my 4,000 so we can get rid of the quarterback T-shirt montage.
Yeah, we don't need the mannequin dog. Like, hey, whoever's running that truck, I know you think that is fire every time you come to Cleveland. Hey, man, we see it 17 times a year and like what? 4 more times every time we play a national TV game. Hey, bro, if you run in that truck, just please do me a favor.
Don't do
it. Throw in a different graphic.
Better.
Talk about Miles. Hey, that's fun. Let's talk about Miles. We don't need no graphics no more. We out to since 99.
Speaking of graphics, you know what else we don't need? We don't need no mock drafts since the Browns got their first round pick back. We don't need no Quinn Ewers mock drafts. Yeah. We don't need no Shedeur Sanders mock drafts. We don't need none of that, man. All we need is good vibes. Deshaun Watson to be healthy, to be out there balling, and the Cleveland Browns out there making a run towards the Super Bowl. G. Bush,